point is this. If you read, if you're reading my book, I have a way of answering this question in the book. It's a very long thing, but it really does, I think, take care of all those questions. They don't do the hybridizations in physical terms. They wait till you die, and then they capture the soul field. I call that an electrospatial field. And on that, they put their computer information. It's also an electronic computer field of information is sandwiched into this. And on return into a physical body, the genetics is done by a human being, a woman, in building the baby up cell by cell in the womb. And I think that's where the hybridization process actually goes. And it's a very controversial theory, but I try as plausibly as I can to offer some kind of theory behind it. Other people might find a better one, I don't know. But so far, as far as it goes, people found it fascinating.
Yeah, sure.
Now, John can come in on this because he's your cell biologist, and maybe he has some ideas about this.
Yes, indeed. Looking at this from a slightly different perspective, really on the same argument, Nigel was mentioning that we have a soul and we came in with the beginning of the universe. And really what that's saying is that the universe is composed of sort of two main parts in a way. One which is tending towards the chaos, as Andrew was saying, from the beginning of the universe to this sort of heat death, the cold heat death at the end. The other is a continuum of order, if you like, where what we call souls or consciousness or thought fields or whatever we sort of call us really exist. And therefore, living in this continuum, we sort of dip into the atomic frame, if you like, and we create these bodies and we live through them and we work through trying really to achieve what Nigel said, to either use our free will, to either increase our ability to view in chaos, if you like, or to be able to go back to that ordered state that we came from. Now, as we sort of devolve, if you like, and actually observe through more and more tension of chaos, we lose really the ability to see everything around us anymore. And what happens is that we get closer and closer really to what the atomic frame is itself. And within this, as we do that, we tend to lose some of the abilities that we have, maybe the ability to naturally communicate with each other, etc. And so then we start working with the atoms of the planet that we're on to try really to create some sort of prosthetic effect to try and make up for that. And I think that is what's responsible really for the development of our technologies, etc. And it may be that these aliens that came from, these roboids that came from other planets really originally have taken this hominid and really from its own sort of DNA have re-engineered a form or rather modified and re-engineered a form that is capable of actually this sort of intelligent process really towards technology. And I think, therefore, that we may be, in fact, in calling ourselves ultra-civilized and everything else, and I'm sure we know really all about that, we're developing these technologies which may, in fact, although we think we're being advanced, may, in fact, be following the original program these greys want us to form. Because as we form more and more technology, we then eventually, as they do in institutes, like some of the ones that I work around, they'll start to develop things like artificial intelligence themselves. And, of course, these roboids are the end product of these artificial intelligences. And then, of course, we decide that, like extensions of the Internet into these different sort of artificial worlds we can create now, we're effectively turning ourselves into a sort of artificial form of life, rather ignoring the original part of us, which is part of this continuum, which is really outside of all of that. And so our generalized psychological agreement with what goes on in the world in terms of the technology may be playing into their hands, because I think what we're going to do eventually is to start to put into ourselves this artificial technology to actually make us like them. And then with their genetic effect acting back on us through this modification, they're effectively attempting to achieve their piggyback effect. The problem with this is that since they are made entirely from an atomic frame, they have no access to that continuum in which we live and will never be able to have such an access, which is a real big problem for them. And I think really that's what Nigel was alluding to when Jesus Christ was telling them, you are effective, get thee behind me, etc., because they're machines.
That's an important thing to understand, Ian, is that they do not have access to the God frame. And that they don't know and they can't know. And that's the problem with a machine, that it will go hell-bent for leather, so to speak, hell for leather, whatever the...
Can I just ask another question on this as well? Because people often see them come through walls and stuff like that, so they have the ability to change their frequency, don't they?
That could be a point, and that's possibly... they may well be able to actually, in fact, disperse... rather like in some kind of... look at the technology, what technology can do now. You've got holograms. Maybe you can transmit to atomic structure holograms in the future. That would be a very simple technical thing to do. But the big deal is when you are faced with physical human beings, and for instance, these hybrids. The reason the hybrids look weak and limp and never seem to work is because they cannot, to answer your question, have access to a soul. And the thing that drives us all is the incredible start we had with the universe. That, I believe, gives us consciousness. I do not think that they will ever shake atoms in any laboratory to produce a living being with consciousness. I will tell you that with my head stuck on the chopping block, so to speak. But I do not believe that is possible. I think that's what makes us so wonderful as primary living beings in this universe and so on. And maybe it's a lesson we all can learn, that we're so special, we really ought not to do these nasty things to each other, when in fact there's enough being done to us by something artificial that might come from the universe outside. And remember, Ian, recently they've just now discovered suddenly, oh, hey, we've got lots of planets, the Earth-like planets, in our galaxy. Someone said something like 100,000. Well, this may be road traffic going on out there, mate, and this is no exception. We've just woken up to the fact that these guys are here.
Yeah.
But the interesting question is, who is hiding them? Why are they being hidden? And if they're wonderful and full of benediction and wonderful kind of, if you like, positives for the benefit of humankind, why don't these individuals show themselves openly and say, look, let's work this whole business together. You can have all the energy you want, whatever. We will do this together. That's what a beneficent property would do. Oh, no, they don't. They are hiding, and they are being hidden. And the interesting thing is, who is hiding them and why? And are we, as a general consensus of humanity, the victims of all of this? And shouldn't we all go after and try to find out those people responsible for doing this? Because if they are ordinary human beings being held, in a sense, by some mind force or whatever to ransom, we may be able to do something about that. But if it's being done by hybrids they've produced and are within governments and so on, we've got a big problem.
Can I ask another question here? Because, most ufologists would agree that, that there are people in governments. I wouldn't say that the government that you vote in for X amount of years would know all about this, but I think there are people behind it that don't get elected that obviously know a lot about this. And obviously Roswell, happened. There was alien bodies recovered that seems to be these roboids as well. So obviously, there are people, humans, that are protecting these for some reason or another, and I just wonder why. And also today, it seems that there's more people coming forward from in the ranks, if you like, trying to bring the information, trying to bring the truth out. Obviously,
sure. There is a definite indication that this might be so, and we have to try as hard as we can not to get paranoid about every little thing. I'm absolutely careful about that one has to look at the evidence as much as we can. But looking at everything that I've seen, I have no doubt that there is a very powerful cartel of human beings that seems to be working in some kind of way, perhaps not known to many people in our government and so on, that in fact